So here we are at the end of February, and I thought today we could make a hearty, filling, stick to your ribs vegetarian dish. You guys know that I grew up vegetarian for the most part, and changed my ways in college and have eaten pretty much everything since then. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for all things vegetable, especially elevating them, giving them like the centerpiece display. Today we're gonna make roasted eggplant with a little farro salad, some yogurt on top. It's very luxurious, it's very creamy and textural. So look, when you're making a vegetable-based dish, it tends to be pretty light. Yes, it has great protein and fiber and obviously delicious flavor, but it's pretty lean. So I do find when you're bulking it up, when you're making it the main course, it's nice to add a grain or a legume. You can definitely use lentils, you can use leftover brown rice. In here, I have farro, which is a wonderfully chewy, tender grain. It looks kind of like puffier brown rice. And the beautiful part about farro is that you cook it like pasta. So I brought 8 cups of water and some salt to a boil, and then dropped my rinsed cup of farro in there, and I'm just gonna let it bubble away about half an hour until the farro are tender and very chewy. They add such a nice texture, and they really hold up well. You just drain the water away. Much less temperamental than rice. Rice can have drama. All right, let's roast eggplant. So that's cooking away. I have a timer going for half an hour. Eggplant. There's a couple different ways you can make this dish. You could definitely actually do these cubed if you want more sort of surface area to toss them around. I am gonna do them halved, which will allow me to really get that gorgeous experience. So you just wanna rinse your vegetables, give them a scrub if you find any dirt on there, and then dry them off. And all I'm gonna do is slice down the center and give myself these nice halves. And then there is the great salting debate, to salt or not to salt your eggplant. We had a discussion about this when I made the stuffed acorn squash a la Norma, which if you are a fan of eggplant, I highly recommend going to check out. But we talked about salting in that video because it turns out, if you grew up with an Italian grandmother or someone who grew up making a lot of eggplants, you probably heard that you have to salt to get rid of the bitterness. Modern day agriculture, we have pretty much bred the bitterness out of our eggplants. So you really don't need to do that anymore. Some people do say it changes the texture if you salt. It helps the eggplant stay nice and creamy. It helps them not absorb as much oil. Like if you're frying eggplant, some people say that if you salt it first, it doesn't get soggy. But I haven't noticed enough of a difference to warrant getting in the kitchen half an hour earlier to salt them. But if you remember, do what I just did, then sprinkle with salt and let them hang out for half an hour, and then you'll just squeeze that extra liquid out, give it a pat dry, and continue as I'm about to do right now. Actually, you could do this part first and then salt them. So I am just gonna work my way in little hash patterns along the surface of the eggplant, creating this nice little hash mark. I'm being careful to use just the tip of my blade, so I don't wanna puncture the skin at all. And there's nothing too precise here. Obviously, even marks is nice. And it does create extra little pockets for steam to release. Eggplants are extremely hydrated nightshades. They have a lot of water content. So giving them ways to release that water is great. It will give you better texture here on the surface. It will also give you extra nooks and crannies for all your flavorings from the Chermoula to work their wonders and get into your veg. I need a baking sheet. You can line that with parchment paper if you want to just save yourself a little cleanup time. I do find that the golden brown effect is ever so slightly better when I go straight onto the sheet tray. So clearly I don't care if my sheet tray looks donkey. So I'm just gonna go that route. Get some olive oil. And like I said, the eggplant absorbs everything like a sponge. So you wanna work pretty quickly and without too much olive oil, because immediately it will just get drunk into the flesh of your vegetable. And just probably about a tablespoon per. Grab a bit of kosher salt and sprinkle it all over your eggplant. And then I like to go cut side down. And we are gonna flip after the first 30 to 40 minutes so that that surface dries out ever so slightly even more. And you wanna make sure you leave plenty of space all around the eggplant so that, again, that steam evaporates. They do have a tendency to steam. It does have a tendency to leave them a little more watery than you like in order to concentrate that flavor as much as possible, condense that flesh to its most puddingy, soft, delicious form. you definitely want to leave your vegetables plenty of room to breathe. And then these are gonna go into a 400-degree oven. Let's start at half an hour. We'll check on them then. It's really gonna depend on the size of your eggplants. And by the way, I'm using globe eggplant today, but any eggplant is fine. Okay, now things are really heating up. Eggplant going, farro going. Let's just check on the farro quickly. I do just wanna check on these, making sure they're staying nice and tender and chewy, because you're still a little al dente, which is fine. We have plenty of time left for these guys to cook. While the farro and eggplant are cooking, let's go ahead and make our chermoula. So this is not 100% authentic to the original. Chermoula being a North African herb sauce that is gorgeous over meat, veg. We're gonna use it today with the eggplant. It has tons of herbs in it. You can use cilantro, mint. I'm gonna use parsley today. Lots of nice toasty spices. So you want about a cup of fresh parsley leaves. And I definitely overdo that sometimes because I like it very herby. And if you want to actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's leave like half of those I just put in out and we'll use it to garnish. And I want to include a nice big handful of the tender parts of the stems. So just slice off the sort of woodier pieces, but these nice thin, tender parsley stems have so much flavor and are really gonna boost up our sauce. Oh, we need to toast the spices. I didn't do it. Coriander seed and cumin seed, the king and queen of lots of Middle Eastern dishes and North African dishes. I want about evenly both, 2 teaspoons of coriander seed, coriander being lemony and bright, cumin being earthy and very sort of heady. Oh, delicious. I use them in so much of my cooking. And the reason you want to start from whole and toast is that is the way you are going to guarantee yourself maximum flavor. And just so you know, I have them in a dry skillet over a medium heat. I'm gonna let these seeds toast and you will know they're ready when the essences, the essential oils that are kind of coming to the top and toasting come wafting at you, and it is heavenly. The sad reality about ground spices is that they lose their flavor really quickly because there's so much of the surface area available. So when possible, get yourself the whole spices, toast them like I'm doing now, and then grind them up. And you will be left with an infinitely more flavorful addition to any meal. Having said that, I'm now going to use crushed red chili flake and paprika, already ground up. I'm gonna just pulse up this parsley quickly, just to give ourselves a head start, make sure that the sauce eventually incorporates nice and evenly. I don't wanna let it run too long because I wanna break the leaves up without like totally turning them into a paste. All right, and there's a couple sprouts hanging out here at the top, that's fine. I want like probably, let's say 3 cloves of garlic in here, maybe 2, depending on how large they are. It is really very much up to taste how much you want to include. Now, I have made this mistake before. Technically, you should be able to add in your whole garlic cloves and just let it run. I never find that they totally incorporate that way. I almost always end up being the person who bites into a huge raw lump of garlic. So I do myself the favor of smashing them pretty well as I take them out of their skins and then giving them a nice quick chop before adding them into the bowl of our food processor. Let's check on the farro. I think this should be ready to go right about now. Nice and fluffy, tender grains. So good. I think it needs like 2 minutes more. So for the replacement to preserved lemon, which is the more sort of traditional element to include here and is so delicious if you have access to it. Nice and salty and pungent, adds a beautiful note of acid and bitterness. You ultimately want about 2 tablespoons of chopped rind if you're gonna do it the way I'm showing you here. So I just sliced that outermost edge of rind off of my organic lemon. Since we're gonna use the rind here, I prefer to find an organic option, but see what you can get. You know, the rind is going to be where the lemon holds onto a lot of its essential oil, and that is the really like, oh, let's see if you can see. Can you see when it mists up? Ooh, and look at my fingers, covered in gorgeous lemon essential oil. So delicious. So the rind is where a lot of that hangs out, which means you're going to get that beautiful lemony brightness without the tart acidity of the juice itself. I just like to give it a nice quick chop like so. Probably, 3/4 of the zest of that lemon. Adding it in here. Oh, let us not forget the spices. Oh, they smell so good. They're turning golden brown and lovely. Okay, I think those are good. I think we're happy. Now, one thing I will say is that you're welcome to add them in whole just like that to your food mixer. But I do find that giving them a quick little punch in my mortar and pestle, make sure that they have the best chance of evenly incorporating into our sauce. So check them out. Oh yeah. So as you break them open, you'll start to smell that wonderful toasting of the spices coming together. That heat really opens up all that delicious flavor as well. And that's all it takes just to make a quick little powder. Into our mix with our lemon, our garlic, our fresh parsley, a nice big pinch of salt, at least a teaspoon of kosher salt to start. Chili flake to your preference. I'm going to start with half a teaspoon probably. You could definitely add fresh chilies in here. That would be divine. This sauce is pretty flexible in that way, and that's why I'm saying loosely inspired by Chermoula, in no way perfectly authentic to the original. And maybe a teaspoon, probably like close to a tablespoon of sweet paprika and olive oil, lots of olive oil, so that everything blends beautifully. Okay, let's blend her up. Okay, let's taste this bad boy and see what's going on. Oh, that is so good. Needs a little more salt. Okay. That little hit of lemon zest coming through. Plenty of lemony punch, but just that slight note of bitterness, so beautiful. All of our spices, that cumin and coriander coming loud and clear. Paprika, more smoky, like sweet heat than anything else, and colors the eggplant beautifully when I brush it on to finish the roasting process. A little chili flake for a little heat. This is delightful. I want to spread that on, I want to do roasted veggies in this mix. A baked potato. Oh my gosh, this on a baked potato, this on fried potatoes of any kind would be phenomenal. Okay, new recipe, another day. Let's drain off our farro. And you do want to quickly rinse the farro with cool water just to make sure it doesn't stick as it's waiting for its entry into the eggplant realm. Shake off that excess water, and then it can just hang out here and drain. Oh, so chewy and perfect. Holds beautiful tender texture. Soaks up the flavor of everything around it. So we are going to combine this with pomegranate seeds and walnuts. I may even throw a couple spoonfuls of that saucy mixture on top of it because it's so good. Let's toast our walnuts. Okay, I went ahead and got some walnut pieces. Definitely do whole walnuts if that's what you have. I just want them to toast ever so slightly. So I'm going to pop them in this 400-degree oven with the eggplant, which have been in about 25 minutes. Let's quickly check on them. Oh, nice. They are getting really nice and tender. Let's see how they're releasing. What do you look like under there? Yeah, good. Okay, keep going. More time is needed, but that's okay because we have other things we can do. We can make the farro salad. So grab yourself a bowl with your farro that is now fully drained and perfect. And we are gonna just make it beautiful. We're gonna make it saucy and colorful and flavorful. We're gonna use the juice of this lemon. We're gonna use those leftover parsley stems and leaves that we had because they're so pretty. I love when grain salads have like big pieces of herbs thrown in that almost act like a lettuce. And then I really love taking these same thin, tender stems that we added into that Chermoula sauce and giving them a nice, tight little mince and they provide a wonderful bit of texture and freshness, more of that wonderful parsley flavor. Next, I want some fresh mint leaves, and mint can be a pretty overwhelming taste, so I would caution you to use it at your discretion. I like it because it does bring that really summery freshness in here, and we have so many we have like the smokiness of what the eggplant's going to do in the oven. We have the really nutty, rich earthiness from the farro coming in, and so I think these fresh herbs really just make sure that we stay nice and light the whole time as well. So just putting a thin little ribbon on the mint. Probably I have maybe 2 tablespoons of fresh mint leaves here. And then I just gather the whole little bundle up again and go once more through just to make sure they can all spread out evenly into the pool of herb and farro. Lovely. Lemon juice, let's do that. Let's start with half a lemon, and we can always add more if we want it. You know, we definitely want some brightness and some acidity here because everything else is nice and oiled up, but I don't want to mute the flavor too much. Walnuts. I'm roasting these walnuts as pieces. Let's see. Okay, good. You could let them cool. I'm choosing not to. Into your herb and farro mix. Then I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna add some Chermoula in here because we're not afraid of raw garlic, and we are not afraid of delicious flavor. And because we've already worked so hard to develop this delicious blend. Now, make sure you leave enough for your eggplants. So maybe 4 tablespoons of our Chermoula in our mix. Mix that all together. And the warm farro should drink that right up. Oh, the heat from those nuts and the farro are blasting the garlic and herb and spices. And the smell coming out of this bowl is divine. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. But it's not finished. I think it could tolerate some more fresh herbs. So let's do, because like I said, I want almost an even ratio. I really like to punch up that green quality in my herb and grain bowls. So don't be shy. Get all your little herbs together. Just give them a quick toss in. And again, those big leafy pieces, I don't know why, they just feel so much more luxurious to me. I really love them. But if you are the type of person who does not want quite so large an herb showing up in your bowl, then just go ahead and give them a quick chop. The eggplant has been in probably 35 minutes at this point, and these were large globe eggplants. I should tell you, you can use any eggplant you want, really. You could use Japanese eggplants. There's a fantasy eggplant, also an option. Just the roasting time will adjust based on how large they are, how much liquid they have to give up. But here are ours, and they are lovely. You can see the skin starting to pucker and create those ripples. That is because the liquid that was previously holding them plump and firm is evaporating. So just take a spatula and release from the surface, which should happen pretty easily here. And you can see the skin is getting nice and creamy, soft and tender underneath. Slathering this gorgeous herby sauce all over the surface of the eggplant and back into a 400-degree oven at least another 10 minutes. You'll know the flavor will be intensified. The scent will be magnificent. The eggplant will be golden brown all over. And you'll be ready to eat. I love pomegranates. They're sweet and tart, juicy little rubies, so delicious. And this has to be one of the coolest things I've seen on TikTok of late. If you have a fresh pomegranate like so, you might be curious as to why anyone would wear any white colored clothing around it, because death to white clothing is what pomegranates represent. I'm gonna show you, reportedly, the correct way to cut a pomegranate. I will also confess to you that my husband does all the pomegranate cutting in our house because he does it underwater, and he's so good at it. And it goes, if you do it underwater, there's no risk of splattering at you, and he does them very quickly. So that will continue to be his job. But I do want to see if this actually works the way that TikTok told me it would. So basically you're going to cut around the stem, hopefully in a better way than I did. And then you just sort of lift off the little head here. You know what? I'm going to give myself a little more. Ignore my shape. So you cut off the head and then you just slice your way down the skin again into like little, wedge segments, sort of following, I gather, sort of following these sort of the white pith that you can sort of see the outline of. See how there's that little line coming out here? So I gather you kind of want to follow along that, although no one's actually specified this. And the people who do this work so quickly that you're left kind of guessing what they did. Me thinks this is not working so well. Me thinks I'm doing it wrong, and I look like I've committed murder. What the hell? What the hell? This is ridiculous. I am gonna tie-dye this shirt because there is no salvation. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? Are you joking? February. It's my birthday month. You're supposed to be nice to me. All right, let me show you John's method. You know what? Maybe we're going to break the internet this way because while that looks really cool and the people doing it are like, whipping through pomegranates, no issue. My husband has also had no issues and it takes way less skill. So for John's technique, all you have to do is get a bowl, fill it enough with water to be able to completely submerge your pomegranate into it. And then, I really wanted this to work. What am I doing wrong here? It was super cool. They could just open, whatever. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, he just cuts down into 4 wedges. By the way, it's worth noting, you can very easily buy pomegranate seeds ready shucked. So you go underwater with your pomegranate wedge, and then they come popping right out of their skin areas. See, you have a nice little wedge of gorgeous ruby gems. Put them back underwater and just quickly pop, 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 pop. Couldn't be simpler. No mess. No destruction of your favorite new shirt. And the end. It's probably going to take me 15 minutes, but don't judge the meditation of pomegranate seeds. Okay, I'm going to eat a few while I'm here because I can. I just drained the bowl out, and you are left with glorious, freshly shucked, lovingly done by hand pomegranate seeds. Just give them a little dry off, and you can, if there's any little bits of pith that are still lodged on, just pick that away, but little tiny amounts are not a problem for anyone. And the juicy sweetness and kind of tangy tartness that these bring are so delightful. Into our bowl with the herbs and that farro. Look at how colorful and gorgeous this is. Are you kidding? Now the good news is that it took me 15 minutes to get the seeds from the pomegranates. So now our eggplant's done, which is lovely. And we'll make the yogurt while it rests. Please come see in the oven. Just come see how they've wilted down the bubbling and sauciness of all that we are about to enjoy. What do I think? Do I want to... Oh, look at this. Look at how soft and succulent that is. Unbelievable. Beautiful. Drank up all that flavor. I haven't had great luck with the broiler, as you guys know. But a little part of me wants to put these under the broiler for 1 minute. Just to see what happens. See in 1. Come and see. That's what I'm talking about. Look at them talking to me. Oh yeah. Oh yes, that is exactly what I wanted. Just a little extra golden browning on the surface to give us that gorgeous textural play, crisping of the skin. Fabulous. Get a sturdy spatula and lift them each onto your serving platter or your individual plates. Nothing too precise here. And remember, we are going to scatter the whole thing with our beautiful fresh herbs, pomegranate seeds, farro, making this an extraordinarily filling, flavorful, colorful, gorgeous dish to sink your teeth into. And make sure you anoint with a few of these beautiful big sprigs of parsley that we left whole. But that's not all. The last little touch on this wondrously vegetarian dish, which I have to say, like, my dream for all food is that you'd never think about it being healthy. You'd never think about it being vegetarian. You never think about it being any one concern of food. You just think about it being delicious, and it happens to be all those things too. That is divine. Now, I need a little yogurt. Let's start with maybe a cup of yogurt, the juice of half a lemon. You can definitely throw some zest in there too if you wanted. Salt, honey, I'm home. Teaspoon of honey. She's going rogue. She's living life. She's in charge. Heaped tablespoon of your Chermoula blend. Stir it all together. And honestly, before it becomes totally incorporated, because it's kind of gorgeous looking marbled like this, go ahead and give yourself some luscious dollops on top of your mix. And that is just going to be a cooling, wonderfully creamy note on top of all those fresh herbs and spices. You have it, so use it. Anoint, 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 anoint. And you are a total dream, living your best life, extravagantly embracing the joys of vegetables kind of girl, aren't you? Should we taste? I mean, I hate to say I told you, but I told you this was going to be delicious. The eggplant is so rich and melting and creamy. That spice that we added to the Chermoula is coming through front and center with just a little bit of heat. The pop from those toasted spices that we added, the cumin, the coriander, going beautifully in here. The farro. This farro, even if you just make the farro, herbs, spices, heat, a little garlic, pomegranate seeds, so textural and chewy. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And then our little fresh friend, our little yogurt dipping sauce. Just keeping the whole thing nice and juicy. I love it. You're going to love it. And you are not going to think about the fact that you're a vegetarian too for today.